Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and the folks from Lenovo let us borrow their Thinkcentre M83 desktop to check out for a couple of days. This is kind of a business-oriented product, but I think it might be of interest to people with small businesses as well as larger companies too. It is a little, little desktop, kind of like an Intel NUC or something like that. This one's got a quad-core i5 built in. What I found interesting about it, though, is that it works with this monitor here. So you basically just slide it into the back of it, and the monitor kind of takes over. So you can actually turn it on from the front of the monitor. You don't have to have all these extra wires going around. You just slide this in, plug the monitor in, and you're good to go. I'm going to show you how all that works in a minute. Now, this is a quad-core i5. They have a whole bunch of different configurations you can get with it. So the least expensive version right now, it looks like it's an i3 processor. It's under $500 with 4 gigs of RAM. This one with the quad-core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gigabyte spinning hard disk comes in around $800 because they actually installed Windows 7 on here, which is a $50 add-on to keep Windows 7 over 8. And I think when Windows 10 comes out, a lot of this going back to 7 stuff will probably go away. Let's take a look at the hardware here, and then we'll show you how it works with the monitor. You've got USB 3 in the front here. You have a microphone and headphone jack separated into 2 different jacks, which is how they used to do it. We're seeing less and less of that these days, so that's kind of a handy thing to have. You have a USB port on the front here that doubles as a power adapter, and the power, when it's plugged into the monitor, actually comes in from the back, but we're seeing this dual port on a lot of different Lenovo devices. So if you don't have it plugged into power, you can use that port for USB, or you can power the device through that. On the back, we've got a bunch of stuff here. We've got a USB 2.0 port, gigabit Ethernet, an antenna for the wireless, and they give you the antenna here also, so when you have it plugged into the monitor, it kind of sticks out the back of its little housing there. You have DisplayPort and VGA, 2 more USB 3 ports, another DisplayPort. This is for the monitor when it plugs into there, as well as power, which also works with the monitor when it's plugged in. Now, I did take it apart because I know a lot of you might be interested in that, so it is kind of upgradable. And as you can see in here, you've got the spinning hard disk. Underneath it are 2 RAM banks. They're SO-DIMMs, so this, kind of the standard laptop memory. You really can't see it too well in there, but it's underneath the hard drive, and you can upgrade these to 16 gigabytes of RAM total. Pretty beefy size fan here. I don't hear it all that much though when it's running, so it is relatively quiet. And when it's in the monitor, you really hear it a lot less too, and they have some nice venting on the back there as well. So I'm going to put this back together and then show you how it works with this monitor, and then we'll boot it up and see how it performs. All right, so let's get this PC installed. We've got it right here. I'm just going to slide it right into the back of the monitor like so, and you can see that if you're in like a corporate environment, how nice this might be to have, because what this does is it gives you the flexibility to just simply swipe out the PC and swipe in another one if something were to go wrong with it. There's a little module here, and when you plug this in, this lines up with the USB 3 port, the display port, and the power adapter, and that's how everything gets to the computer and back and forth without any need for additional cabling. They do suggest, though, you plug the keyboard into the USB port that is available here, and the reason is that you can power the computer on just by hitting Alt-P on the keyboard, but you can also hit the power button on the monitor too. What it does do when it does connect up is it gives you access to 2 USB 3 ports on the front of the monitor, and also on the back you get 2 additional USB 2.0 ports as well, so you have some options there. So you may want to plug your mouse into one of those ports in the back there. But that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do now is attach power to it, and we'll see how fast it comes up. Now note that this one is running Windows 7 because this is, again, more of a business-oriented machine. So it is going to take a little bit longer to boot, not only because it's running Windows 7, but it's also running with a spinning hard drive too. So the boot time is going to be a little bit slower than we typically see with our Windows 8 machines. So let's get going. All right, I plugged power into the monitor, and I've got Ethernet connected to the computer also, so we've added a couple more wires to the mix here, but not too many. I'm going to hit the power button on the monitor, and what's cool is that not only will that turn the monitor on, it will also turn on the computer. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see up here, but it says all-in-one mode, so it's kind of got a little mode it switches into when it knows it's plugged into the monitor. By the way, they have a DisplayPort input as well as a USB input over there also, so if you wanted to run this with different computers, you could. So you're not tied into with the monitor, just using the one that fits in the back. All right, we're finally booted. It does take a little bit longer than I would like. I think it's probably because we're running Windows 7 and we've got the spinning hard drive in there. So those 2 factors are probably contributing to that. But we'll boot up Chrome real quick, and we'll go and visit a couple of websites and see how those perform. So we'll see the New York Times here, and we'll just click on one of these editorials and see how fast those come up. So pretty fast web browsing performance on the basic side there. We'll go to my YouTube page next and just see how that looks, if I can type it in correctly. And we'll go there and see how things pop up on the screen. We'll just boot up one of the videos I shot recently, And we'll go to play that back after we skip the ad here. Wait, and hit the skip. I do suggest if you're watching my channel to watch those ads. It helps pay the bills. We'll go and drop this into 1080p here and go full screen so you can see it's running very, very nicely. The color on the screen isn't too bad either. We can also get the stats for nerds here and see if we're dropping any frames, and it looks like so far we aren't, so it's keeping up quite nicely with that. On the Octane test, which is a test that I run in Chrome to see how well it performs with JavaScript and basic HTML rendering, it scores 25,796. That is definitely on the high end of the scale for a lot of the PCs we usually look at, 'cause we usually look at less expensive, less powerful computers. So the processor in here, the i5, is doing quite well and performing about where other processors of its class are performing. So that is always a good thing to see. So let's take a look now at some word processing, and then we'll get into some gaming. All right, so our next test here is some word processing. I'll pull up Word 2010 and see how things load on there. I do run Word 2010 versus the current version just because they have put this text animation into the new version, which really makes everything look slower than it is. But I'll go ahead and type some things out here, and it's keeping up with my typing quite nicely. The page is rendering as I'm scrolling down here. It feels about the same as other i5 and even some other i7 processors that I've looked at in the past, so it seems to perform on par with those. We'll resize the image here and see how fast the text reflows around it, so we can see that is performing quite nicely too. So it is a good performer. We saw that with the Octane test, and we're also seeing it here that it is able to do a lot of the tasks that it was designed for quite well. And in a corporate environment, this is kind of the stuff that you'll be doing, and I think it'll do very well at those things. Now, if the boss isn't looking, you can, of course, load up Minecraft and other games that are kind of low impact like it. So it does run Minecraft here pretty well. I'm seeing frame rates consistently around the 40 frames per second mark, occasionally jumping up a little bit higher depending on what I'm doing. I am running with the Optifine plugin, which gives us a little bit better performance, but this is pretty much what you'll see out of it. This has the Intel graphics on it, just like most of the other machines that we look at that are in that sub $1,000 price point. So this is about the performance we've seen on similarly equipped devices, so it isn't too bad at all. Again, you're not going to be playing any of the modern games on here necessarily, but some of the older ones or ones that don't really require all that much horsepower, it should be able to accomplish those tasks quite well. So this is an interesting computer. I like the fact that, especially from the corporate environment, that it's very easy to swap out the guts and replace them, because normally if you're in a place where you've deployed a bunch of these computers, you're basically running off the same image each time. So you could very easily take one of these things out, pop in a spare, get the person back to work, get the computer fixed, replace the hard drive or whatever you need to do, then replace it again later if you need to. So it's very quick from that standpoint, very efficient for IT departments. The only issue with it, though, is that this monitor will only work with this computer in the back. You can plug in other computers into the side of it, but really this is a system that you would be deploying company-wide to get everything to work, and that's what this kind of is really geared towards. So it's really very much like a fleet kind of computer. But the computer on the back is sold. These two things are sold separately. The computer on the back is VESA mount compatible, so you could just screw it onto the back of an existing monitor. It also has a little stand too, so you can put it as a stand-up device on your desk too if you don't want to make the jump on the monitor. So that will do it for the Lenovo. They call this the Tiny in One monitor, along with the M83 that is on the back here. And this is Lon Simon. Thanks for watching.